I just want to share with everybody in our region, some of the things about like how you became a hop coach and what you think that means, and then after that we'll get into you know what organizational learning can do for an organization, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. The way, I mean, hop coach is just because I'm not a consultant. Yeah, so I do this stuff. I've been involved with human and organizational performance kind of from its infancy. Three big companies kicked this off in about 2012, 2013, GE, Alcoa, and Chevron. And I happened to work for GE at the time. I'm not a trained safety professional. I'm an engineer, but I happen to be working in safety at the time. And I heard about this stuff from Todd Conklin as he came in to speak with us. Like, okay, that sounds really interesting. A lot of things I had to change about the way I was doing stuff, but it sounded really interesting. And so I got involved with it early on and then helped create this space called operational learning. Learning teams is a part of it, but it's the notion of learning from the people that actually do the work, how it really gets done, not how we think it gets done. And then having them help us build better work really is what it boils down to. So yeah, I'm not really, it applies to safety, it applies to quality, it applies to operational upsets. I'm not really like hyper focused on safety alone. Safety is a really good place to start though, because no matter how good we are, I think we all want to get better at safety. And I think the better we get at safety, the more we realize how brittle the systems are and how what we think was good maybe was just good for the moment and it's not really good at a deeper level. So yeah, it's really helped me a lot, Dave, with a deeper understanding of complexity. And I think that's something that's been missing from industry for a long time. And I'm old enough to say that because I'm 60. So it's been missing from industry, really most of industry's existence. So yeah, so that's why I do what I do. And I just share this stuff with everybody and anybody that'll listen.
Yeah, one of the things that I've noticed is that some of the approaches to safety kind of didn't look at things the same way that the organizational learning and human organizational performance looks at organization safety and performance. And maybe you could talk to that a little bit. Why this is a little bit different, and how an organization that wants to improve and keep people safe can use some of the things that you're going to teach us in October.
Yeah, so first of all, let me say this: hats off, and I mean that, to all the safety professionals for all the work they've done. It's been great. It's gotten us to where we are, and we don't want to get rid of the good things that have been done. Right? COP does not undo those things. It hopefully just builds a little bit on that by adding in more conversation around the nature of sort of the complexity of the work. You mean we wouldn't be where we are today if it were not for all of the heavy lifting that's been done by safety professionals for literally for decades. So when HOP comes along, it's just a change in our conversation. You can integrate the thinking into whatever lean methodologies, safety programs, quality programs, whatever. That it's not a separate program. It is a shift in thinking, and it really, I think it's just a very real sort of shift in thinking. We talk about the fact that humans mess up, humans make mistakes. And I say this all the time, Dave, humans are really amazingly adaptive. That's why work is successful most of the time, is because humans are so adaptive, brilliantly resilient. I mean, I live in Tornado Alley here in the South. We just got nailed by some tornadoes where people are out there rebuilding right now, right? So humans are amazingly adaptive, brilliantly resilient. We're just not very reliable, right? The human condition is not a condition of high reliability. And so I think a lot of times, not safety, but industry tries to sort of set that expectation that the human needs to get it right, but humans don't really get it right. So I think the fact that we maybe accept that and say, hey, let's build systems so that when people don't get it right, which will happen, we don't die, right? Bad things don't happen. Kind of like when they did the automotive industry, Dave. They realized a long time ago that sooner or later everybody gets in a wreck. So they make cars really hard to wreck, but they also make them super safe to wreck. And because of that, there's a much lower ratio of people who die in car wrecks than there used to be.
So I always use the example of I know myself well enough that human error is something I do once in a while, and I'm going to lock myself out of my vehicle from time to time. And so I have two sets of keys in my pocket. and it
Yeah,
saved me
yeah.
a couple times now. So
Well, and some cars have the keyless entry, right? And some cars won't lock the door if your key is in there. Right? Those are all. Well, do you think about the what they put in cars now to remind you to look in the back seat, right? So when you stop your car, because 40 to 50 kids every year die in the U.S. because someone forgets them, not on purpose. It's just they don't normally take them to school, and so today they're taking them to school, but they get in and start the car, and their brain says, "Hey, I'm going to work," and the habit loop kicks in, right? And so we want to build systems that help humans, not blame them. Blaming them doesn't seem to fix anything. It's one of our principles is that blame is really a waste of our resources. It actually is oftentimes masks a human problem. I mean, a system problem is a human problem. Just blame the human when we really need to look at that system. And the systems have to be built better to handle the human condition instead of expecting the human to be closer to perfection, because we don't do that well.
Bob, I got to tell you, I've actually been buying quite a few number of your copies of your book.
Keep losing it, or what's going on, Dave? What do you?
Yeah, I keep losing it. No, well, I loan it to somebody and I have to buy another copy. That's what happens. So yeah, I do keep losing it. But I really like that book, and I think it's got some great tools in it. And so we're looking forward to having you join us again in October. And I think a lot of people remember you from when you came to our conference way back in 2018, I think it was.
Yeah,
and then you joined us for our what's that?
It was PC, right? Pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID. And then we did you actually joined us for our virtual conference in 2021. And so that kind of spoiled us a little, or didn't spoil us, and we wanted to have you come back and do it in person. So
yeah, way better. All this stuff is way better in person, right? I mean, it's fine for things like this, but like conferences and workshops, and I mean, I call it the computer hole. We use it when we have to, but I don't like it. I prefer to be there in person. So I'm really looking forward to coming back. It's beautiful up there.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks, Bob.